Hello friends, it's Chari. Today I have a really fun summer cookout themed collage card to share with you. This is a really fun way to use a lot of your stamp images that you like. I'm going to be using images from Let's Barbecue. I'm going to use that umbrella from On the Beach. I'm using some of the ice cream from Here's the Scoop. And I'm also using the lemonade and the watermelon from Make Lemonade and Happy Summer. They're just hard to see because my stamps don't have the indexing on them. I've laid all my stamps out on my piece of paper, which is 5 inches by 5 inches, and I took a picture of it with my phone so I remembered the arrangement of my images. Then I can put them all on my MISTI and stamp them in jet black ink so that I can do some Copic coloring. And I've chosen a very simple color palette for these images. I'm sticking with primary colors of red, blue, yellow, and a little bit of green where I need it. This card was sort of inspired by a shirt that we actually found at TJ Maxx for my husband for summer, but it actually didn't fit and I need to take it back. But I liked the images on the shirt and I like that it had that really simple color palette. So that was the inspiration for this card. So I'm starting out with my reds, of course, a red watermelon. The umbrella is going to be red and blue, and I'm just using a slightly lighter color so I can get some shading, but not too complicated. I'm going to do the same thing with the blue just so that I have a little bit of shading, but those darker shades of red and blue are really the shades I'm going for the overall look of this card. So I've just put that lighter blue and then I'm just flicking up with the darker to kind of give the shape of the umbrella. I did the same with the watermelon with the lighter and then I brought in the darker closer to the rind. And then here is the yellow. So it really is primary colors. This is a really fun thing to try and do, to just use a few markers and make a limited color palette card. Now I did color that popsicle red, white, and blue, but I did not actually like the way it turned out. So I will stamp a new one of him and color him as well. Of course, that lemonade needs to be yellow. So I'm coloring in the yellow. I am going to pull in a very pale teal blue color for the picture. It just didn't really work to use any of those bright colors for the picture, but that's okay because it's just a small accent. Really the focus is the yellow lemonade inside. I'll add a little bit of that really pale blue to the ice cube as well, and then I'm going to go in with a slightly darker yellow for the rind of the lemon. And I'll go back with the lighter ones for the inside. Now for my barbecue, I'm making this a red barbecue. So I'm doing the same thing, starting with that lighter, which is a pink, and then I'll pull in my darker color. And then I'll just blend out between the two to darken up that light pink color till I get the look of the red barbecue that I want. I'm also pulling in some neutral gray just for some of the accents, so I'll use it on the legs of the barbecue, and I'll also use a gray color for the utensils. And for the inside, I wanted to keep with my color palette and keep it nice and bright and colorful, so I'm using the yellows, putting a little bit of pink on the edge, and I'll blend it with the yellow. So it kind of looks like there's a fire down in that grill. Here I am again with those neutral grays for the utensils, and I'll bring in the colors that I'm using for the handles of them, but the utensils themselves needed to be that neutral color. So I'm going to color one handle blue and one handle red. And then of course some yellow mustard on my hot dog. And I'm using those same reds to color the hot dog itself so that it matches everything that's happening on my card. And I'll do the same for the buns. I'll use the yellows, but I'll also pull in just a little bit of brown so that it looks like a toasty bun. Now here is the little bit of green that I'm going to use. So the lettuce on the hamburger and of course the rind of the watermelon. And I also wanted to thicken up the grill because I'm not going to put anything on it. So I wanted those lines to just be a little bit darker and knock down the yellow just a little bit. So I'm just tracing over it with a dark gray. And then now for the buns of the hot dog and the hamburger, I've pulled in a darker yellow. It's kind of a brownish yellow, but it's still a YR. And then I can pull in my dark yellow and blend it out. And it still looks like a toasty bun without using a brown color. Of course, I'm going to pull in a brown for the hamburger because again, just like the watermelon rind, it just makes sense to use a slightly different color for that. And then for the ice cream cone, I'm going in with that brown and the yellow again. And I'm not going to color the ice cream just yet. I wanted to go ahead and cut out all my images and see what colors I needed. Turns out both the ice cream and the popsicle I ended up coloring in blue because they were kind of on the ends and I felt like I needed some more blue once I got my composition together and saw all of my images and the colors I'd used together. So you'll see that here in just a little bit. But for the background, I've got a piece of the textured canvas cardstock. This is cut to 5.5 inches square, and I'm going to create a little pinstripe pattern background. So I'm using the Skinny Stripes stencil, and I'm just going to tape that down. And since I have a piece of colored cardstock for my background, I'm going to use a pigment-based ink. So I'm using Distress Oxide, and I am using the Broken China color. This is going to give me a really nice tone-on-tone pinstripe for the background that's going to be lighter and not too distracting from my images. I'm just taking my tool and I am pulling that ink in the direction of the stripes. Because these stripes are thin, I want to go in the direction of the stripes, just swiping my ink, and that's going to keep it from moving and I'm going to get a nice striped pattern on the back. I'm not worrying too much if it is nice and even because I'm going to have a lot of images on this background and you're really not going to see any unevenness in the ink that I might have. So once I have everything inked, the stripes all the way across this piece, I can pull up that stencil and you can see I have that really fun pinstripe for my background. Now I can lay my pieces back out using my phone to the side because I took a picture and that helped me remember where I wanted all these pieces. You can see that I've got the ice cream and the popsicle not colored at the moment because once I got these laid out, I decided I needed a little bit more blue. Really, the only blue I had that was large was the umbrella, and I just wanted to pull that dark blue in a little bit more, and this worked out really well because they were at both corners of this sort of diagonal collage that I have, and it really just book-ended it very well. So I'm coloring my little popsicle in those same blues that I used on the umbrella, and I'm going to do the same for the ice cream. And you can see now I have a really nice even distribution of color, I feel like. So that I don't have to arrange these a second time, I'm going to use a piece of press and seal, just putting that over top, and I can pick up all those images and they'll stay stuck to this in their proper placement. I am going to stamp the sentiment directly on this background so I can use my placement of my images. I'm going to lay them on there. And that sentiment's going to get tucked right under the barbecue, and it says Happy Summer. So it's from that little Happy Summer mini set that has the watermelon in it. It also has some cute ants that I think would be cute on this card as well. And then I'm just going to place that right under the barbecue, and then I can close the door of my MISTI and pick it up, and I know it's going to be right in the right place to fit with all my images. I kind of like the idea of this sentiment being part of the collage versus its own thing like over top or on a sentiment banner. And I'm just stamping it twice. Since I'm stamping on some textured cardstock, I want to make sure that that's stamped down really well. And then I can add this to a card base. Again, this is a 5.5 by 5.5 inch card. So now that I have my card base ready, I can add my images, and I've just put foam squares all over the back of all of them while they are still on that press and seal. I'm also using these thin foam strips, and that works really well under things like the umbrella, the legs of the barbecue, the popsicle sticks, all those skinny items. And then I'm going to pull off all those liner papers all at once, and I'm going to stick all these to my card base at one time. Since they're all stuck onto that press and seal, it's really easy to pick them up, and you can kind of twist them around, make sure they're in the right placement because you can see through it, which is really awesome. And then I can just press them down in place once I have them where I want them to be. And then that press and seal easily pulls off because it's not very sticky. It's not going to harm your images at all. And look how cute this is already. But I want to add some embellishments to this. So I'm going to cut out a bunch of stars using the Hearts and Stars skinny tag set, and I've cut them out of red, blue, and white. The red and blue are textured canvas cardstocks from those packs, the red and the blue pack. And then of course white is just my white cardstock. And I cut out all 3 sizes of the stars and I placed them around. And once I have my placement where I want them, I'm just going through and picking them up and dropping them back down with a dot of glue. I really like how this fills in all those really small spaces. And I just think it really makes it more exciting with all those stars. And then finally I'm going to add some glitter. So I'm going to use some blue stickles. I don't use my colors very often, but this allowed me to add some just little dots, some just little extra embellishments, and they'll be glittery. So I'm just adding a few of those kind of around with the stars, not too many. And then I'll add a few of the Stardust stickles. I did have a red stickles glue, but it wasn't matching exactly, so I decided I didn't want to do that. I'm also adding some glitter to all my images, and I'll add glitter to every one of these. So you can see I've got some glittery mustard on my hot dog. I'm adding glitter to my ice cream, to my lemonade. I've added it to the umbrella. I'm tracing those grill lines. I also added it to the legs. I'm going to add some to the rind of the watermelon, that white part, to my utensils, and then I added some to the top of the hamburger. It doesn't make sense for it to be glittery like sprinkles, but I didn't want that to be the only one without glitter. And then I also added it to those white stars. They do not have the texture like the other ones do. And then here is my finished card, and I just think this is so much fun. I love making collages like this and using a bunch of different images from different sets. It's a really fun way to use a bunch of your stamps without having to make a scene. So I hope this has inspired you to give this technique a try. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing day. Bye.